mock.
Live. Welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze the PR kerfuffles of the MMA world and beyond.
Kerfuckles.
Kerfuffles.
Happy New Year!
Hey! So, my name is Alexi Old, your host, and joining me as always is Kid Nate of Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson of Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking.
Bingo! Starting off the new year on a good foot, baby. All right.
You know, I saw the book. I saw how much people are selling used copies for.
Yep.
And, you know, the sticker shock is what cemented the title in my brain. So let's see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
Speaking of lasting, Eugene, you're Holly Holm. Now that you've got the Holm world in your hands, along with a new UFC contract, are you PR proactive or PR reactive if the UFC demands that you wait for Ronda despite your desire for an earlier fight?
Oh, no. I mean, the thing is, it's like your relationship with God. You know, you might say, God, I really need, and God denies you. You go, man, I asked for the Rolls Royce. God did not give me the Rolls Royce. And then there'll be a product recall because Rolls Royces are suddenly exploding, and you go, oh my goodness. I guess there is something to that, omniscience. I mean, if she fights Ronda again, why are you killing a cash cow? The first MMA fighter ever, as far as I know, possibly the first combat athlete ever to host Saturday Night Live, and this is post a loss. Why are you gonna fuck with that kind of gravy train? You know, just hang. I mean, whatever fight you fight next, they're gonna make it up to you. It'll be a big money fight. You can wait for Ronda. Ronda's saying what, 200 now, UFC 200. But in my mind, the end is preordained. There's not enough time left in 2016 to teach her what she needs to know to beat Holly. That's the reality of it.
And what does she need to know to beat Holly, Eugene?
She needs to know how to fight. I mean, this other chick who just fought this past weekend, she started to fade away in she's Polish, but she doesn't really have a Polish last name. The only female fight on the card of the last UFC, 195. And the other chick was a little bit bigger, and she started to fade the third round, but her fundamentals were just great.
Justine Kish, are you talking about, or the one that lost?
Kish is the one who won. I'm talking about the one who lost.
Ansarov's the one who lost.
Yeah, Anzarov. Yeah, so she's actually, I think, Polish, but thank you. I mean, her fundamentals were just solid, man. You just can't fuck with it. I don't know if you've seen the Bloody Elbow Dominic Cruz video where he says, you think that shit I'm doing out there is just like I'm breakdancing, like I'm just moving, I don't know what I'm doing. These are all purposeful, planned, and practiced. And that's what, man, 6 months? No. Especially when you got a team of people who apparently don't know how to pay taxes.
Speaking of paying taxes, what's your take on it, Nate?
Well, I think that it does Holm good to bitch and moan and call out Miesha Tate and say, I want the fight now, I'm ready to defend the belt, but secretly go to Lorenzo and be like, I'm just saying this shit. Like, pay no mind, I'm just getting out there, I'm keeping in the news, I'm raising my profile, I'm looking like a fighter who wants to fight. And if you want me to fight Miesha Tate, if we can't book Ronda, hey, I'll fight Miesha Tate. But we all know the Ronda rematch is the payday, and that's what we're headed for. But in the meantime, what else do I have to talk about? So
she made all the right moves, man. I love what she's been doing. She came out and said, I'll fight Cyborg.
Yes.
I'll fight whoever you want me to fight.
Yes.
It's such a refreshing change from the dilly-dallying, shilly-shallying former belt holder,
But it's funny you said that, Eugene, because I think it goes back to what Nate was saying as well, which is in terms of what you guys are saying in terms of building up her brand. Because I was a huge, and still am a Ronda booster, but once Holly Holm took on that Cyborg question, I was like, yeah, I'll fight her. Whatever is comfortable for her. I don't want her to hurt herself in preparing herself to fight me. I'll go up. I don't care. And you read that, and it's like, you're not used to it at all. It's just like, it was refreshing. And so I think that whole dynamic of what you do in front of the camera and what happens behind closed doors, you know, I think it totally works for her brand. I totally agree with what you guys are talking
about. And
it's
also people, they're not going to make her fight Cyborg at 145. They're not going to make her give up the belt and move up. I mean, she can say shit like that all day long.
Right? No, it's true.
You never have to pay the consequences. It's like free money. Pick it up, take it.
Well, also, I'm being attacked in the comment section on Knuckle Up because I had the temerity to suggest that I was glad that Condit lost the fight because and once you start thinking about it, it'll send a shiver up your spine, like the guy who said, "Let's invade Stalingrad. It'll work out okay." And you go, "Oh my God, what a tactical error!" Or General George Custer, "Let's go, Little Bighorn. It'll be great." You start to think, "Fuck, GSP, like a big poison toad, sat on top of that division forever, and the latter half of his career fighting really fucking boring fights." And I'm sorry, I just don't want to see a technician take the mantle again. I love Condit, but I just, what I think he's going to have to do to take it will fundamentally improve the sport and will improve him as a fighter. But he's got guys who've been trained since they're 14 are fucking technicians. In other words, they're not called to the sport by emotional means, which is a completely different animal from a guy like Lawler, who else waits to the 5th round to say, "I'm going to seal this now," huh?
Lawler's been training just as long as Condit has. They're both technicians. It's just Lawler is a fighter first.
It's the fire. It's that whole fire under your belly issue. And I think one thing with regard to Condit, why I've never been a huge fan of his is the fact that, and you perfectly assessed it in Knuckle Up, Eugene, and referencing it now as well, is there just seems to be a certain coldness. Not coldness like, oh, I'm a cold killer, but it's just, like you said, like a grocery clerk. There's not that. Lawler is boring, but it's a psychopathic, like, boring. Yep. Like, that brimming under the surface is a body somewhere.
Yep.
Whereas for Condit, it's like, yes, I'll shit and fuck and I'll drop the F-bomb and yes, this is how it is. And I don't know if it's because of his father, being like former chief of staff for Bill Richardson, there's certain kind of, thing that he has, but it's just, when he tries to make faces, like, again, he's phenomenal in the ring, but just that fire and that passion, the fact that it's like when it comes to it, it's kind of, anyway,
I don't know, man. When he was the WEC champ, he brought it consistently. And I remember that fight he had against Rory McDonald when he came out in the 3rd round and he had to get the finish, and he fucking did it. And he beat that kid down and broke him. I mean, Condit has some
guys change though, man. People change.
And I didn't see his
the title fight.
The difference. I didn't see his WEC. I saw my introduction to Condit was right before the Nick Diaz fight when he's like, "It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a dogfight," and it's like, oh, come on.
And it was not a dogfight.
It wasn't. Like, he just running around.
Diaz, and he did a really good job with it. I mean, it was.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know about his connection to Richardson. That's kind of cool. That puts us at 1 degree of separation, having hung out with Richardson in New Mexico at one point. But
well, there you go. And so
I sold Bill Richardson some email addresses once.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he was a nice guy compared to another Democrat who sent chills up my spine, Richard Daley in Chicago. I mean, that's the thing. Why does Ted Bundy become a cause célèbre for a certain percentage of the population, but Gary, the Green River Killer, is just like, they both killed a bunch of people.
And charismatic, That was the thing. The Green River Killer guy was just gross.
Speaking about charisma, Nate, you're the UFC. You put on an incredible headliner at UFC 195 to low buy rates and complaints about judging. This is the 4th time in the last 2 years that a welterweight title fight has gone to a controversial decision. Is it time for you, as UFC, to start lobbying for changes in MMA judging? Joe Rogan thinks so.
I think it's a perfectly fine idea for them to start doing it because it's not like it's one of these. It's like when they used to blame the regulators for their drug issues. Oh, don't look at us. We're regulated by the government. I mean, it's like, don't look at us. The commissions make the judging rules, and I think it's easy free PR. But I think it's also easier to let Joe Rogan go out there and be your cat's paw and let Rogan talk and propose alternate judging ideas.
You mean Rogan, one of the nominated personalities of the MMA year,
Journalist of the Year.
Oh, and that too. He's in 2 categories, isn't he?
Yeah, could well be, but Joe's big time. I love Joe.
And I love the fact that MMA Journalist of the Year are 2 slots under Ring Card Girl of the Year.
Well, some people do a lot of homework for their contribution to MMA, and some people.
You mean carrying the card? You're studying how other people have carried.
There's a lot that goes into that, Eugene. A lot that goes into that.
Well, what about carrying the judging? Let's go back.
Back to the judging. I mean,
I was just about to segue into porn stars, but you got it. This is much more interesting than judging.
Well, I mean, first off, how would you judge fights, Eugene? Do you think what we have now is the best of all possible worlds?
It's fine. Well, everybody's trying to rain on my parade of all 98% successful pick rate at UFC. Why? Why do you hate me so much? The judging was perfectly in place. Why? I got people shaking their head.
Controversy, I think that has some weight to it. The picks start going up, and although 2 weeks ago the Fox.
But it's crazy.
Didn't really do too well on that one. Though.
Hey, look. I'm sorry. Did you say something about the Ultimate Fighter finale and my lousy pick rate on that show? A show I never even watched because of the masturbation in the salad thing? Come on. I don't know about you, but I'm not paying to see masturbation in the salad.
You're masturbating in the salad. As long as you're not eating the salad.
No. I mean, look. With the judging thing, it's not gonna make anybody happy. And the idea that they're gonna go to some BCS type computer thing that sits at the nexus of fight metrics, and they're gonna use a fight counter, and they're gonna look at the numbers. It's bullshit, man. What happens is judges look at a long enough timeline. If this fight goes on another 3 rounds, who wins it? Okay, so it shouldn't be that way. It should be just based on what you say. A guy does a valiant thing. He's got the whole auditorium screaming, Robbie. It has an effect. Unless you're a Cecil Peoples who's having a vision quest while he's sitting there legally blind, then, it's going to affect you. And I feel perfectly, it was close enough that I feel perfectly okay arguing about it. It wasn't one of those things where you look and you go, God damn, what the hell? Like I say, GSP against Hendricks, I was like, that was maybe a miscarriage of justice. But
I think Hendricks won that fight. And watching this fight the second time, when I first watched it, I was much more on the Condit train. But after watching it again, I'm much more comfortable with Lawler winning. I feel like he did more damage. Yep. He was winning in the 5th round, and I weigh the end of the fight just like I weigh the end of a war. I mean, that's how conflict works. It's war of attrition is a real thing. Well, and the 3rd round was very, 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 very close.
Yeah.
It's the thing. I mean, if you look at boxing as a comparison, the Meldrick Taylor Julio Cesar Chavez fight, where Meldrick Taylor was on top of Chavez, beating Chavez for 11 and a half rounds or 10 and a half rounds, and Chavez just the Richard Steele stopped the fight, and people were like, oh my God, like Meldrick, I think it was like 10 seconds ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And so people said, oh my God, like what the hell happened? Meldrick Taylor was never the same after that fight, not because he lost, it was called, but the damage that Julio Cesar Chavez was doing to his body throughout the course of that fight, a lot of people weren't picking up on. And Meldrick Taylor was never the same, and that's why the stopping of the fight, in retrospect, was much more sad because, like, wow, that would have been that literally was his last fight, as Meldrick Taylor. So it's interesting with Robbie Lawler. I wonder, like, with these wars, like, just how much it's such a weird thing. Like, when is he going to run out of that gas?
I shove that to the back of my mind because if you think about that shit too long, it'll make you depressed.
That's true. It's like watching porn and worrying about what's going to happen to these people. I mean, fighters are like logs on the fire.
The few porn stars I know a few have become grandparents. It's not always terrible failure stories. I mean, last time I saw Stephanie Swift was in the elevator at the LA Expo, and she looked terrible. But she has since come out as an anti-porn crusader and did that kill stroke to anybody who might be interested in their videos, talks about a long lifetime of sexual abuse, and it just makes it hard to enjoy it. So she effectively exited the business in a drop-the-mic fashion, which works, but I don't know why we're talking about Stephanie Swift.
Well, speaking of dropping the mic and lack of enjoyment, Eugene, you're George R.R. Martin. Your upcoming book, The Winds of Winter, will not be published before the 6th season of Game of Thrones premieres on HBO in April. Since the show, based on your yet-to-be-published storylines, which you shared with the showrunners, is likely to conclude before you finish your book series, how do you stay relevant and keep control of your creation?
If I am George R. Martin, I'm at home going, where was I again? 101 million?
That's why he hasn't finished the books. That's so funny.
Yeah. I told you.
I'm enjoying life. I'm doing interviews. I'm
Russian
traveling the world.
You idiot. I mean, forget it. I don't give a shit. You know what? I went to Edinburgh once, and when I was in Edinburgh, some people took me to the top of the mountain, this hill. They said, "Oh, I'm great Scottish landscape." It's all fucking gloomy. I go, "Why the fuck are we up here?" You know? They go, "There's J.K. Rowling's house." I go, "What? It looks like a condo development. It looks like a gated community." I go, "Which one?" And they look at me like, that whole section that you're seeing from the bottom, that's J.K. Rowling's house. Fuck you, house, man. I mean, what does he give? At this point now, it's deck chairs on the Titanic. He doesn't give a shit. You think he cares? Maybe he does. All right, man. Maybe he does, but I don't see that. He said, you know, I mean, it's like, oh, George Lucas is not part of the new Star Wars. J.J. Abrams, they didn't use his script. They didn't have the film. They didn't have him direct it. Oh, really? And it's about to beat Avatar. Who cares?
See, I think Eugene's wrong here. I think Martin has made the Brian Jones mistake. He's focusing on the frivolity. He's focusing on the froth. He's forgetting what brought him here, and he's losing connection to his art. I mean, his statement about why he was late with the deadlines and how he's always blown deadlines, it's just like, to me, it's like a guy who's blinking at the big time. It's like when Howard Dean realized he might be elected president and immediately tanked his campaign. I mean, to me...
He didn't tank his campaign. He got roasted for the Scream.
There's a backstory to that. The Scream was the culmination of a lot of decisions Dean made to not step up his campaign to where he needed to be to win a presidential level. The whole reason he had that mic, like a professional operation would have given a mic that would have picked up the background noise in a crowded arena, and then it would have sounded like an exciting rally, and he's trying to keep up with it. But the main thing he was doing, he didn't do his op research on himself and all these different things.
For Martin,
he's taking his eye off the ball. He's busy at the cocktail party set. He's busy at the conventions. He's busy talking to HBO, spending his money. And if that's what you're about, great. But like, you got to think in terms of legacy. I mean, you're a writer that's accomplished that much. Why piss it away now and become an adjunct to a TV show?
Well, the one thing he could do...
Or like Anton LaVey said to me at one point, more people have died from popularity than anything else.
Yeah, but you know, one thing that he might do, I would do if I were him or if I was advising him, call me George, is I would, you know, you've set the train running. The fact of the matter is, even when he had books out, the showrunners were deviating from certain things in the books, which were pissing off the fan base. I mean, there were rapes that were happening that didn't happen, and just totally out of it. Literally is like you give fanboys the keys to the kingdom. Like, I would love if this character lived instead of died. What would happen if they don't think about what chain of reaction, what reaction that called the butterfly effect? So if I were George R. R. Martin, what I'm hoping that he does is let HBO run out the show. You've told them what you think you're going to do. Let them do it, and then use that as a test market and say, you know what, I thought that'd be a good idea, but in execution, it actually doesn't work. Let me change this shit around.
You know, that's a solid idea. Before I finished my novel, A Long, Slow Screw, I had meetings at this big agency in L.A. called Writers and Artists, and the rep there I was dealing with was Angela Chang. And I could tell that my story about small-time crooks in Brooklyn was quickly going to turn into a story about chimps in tuxedos, right? So what I needed to do was finish the book and get the book out, because if they fuck with it after the book is out, you don't really care, because you can always say, I don't know what they did with the movie, like Stephen King and The Shining. You know, just read the book. The book is, you want the definitive thing, the book is. So these should really be separate tracks. Of course, you know, the fact that this lives in infamy as a big, I'll just give you 30 seconds. You can Donna Shalala it if you like, when Angela Chang goes, who do you want to have you be your main character? And I said, well, what are you thinking? And she goes, well, we're thinking George Clooney. I go, George Clooney? You mean that TV guy from ER? Nah. And I go, well, who are you thinking about for director? She goes, Steven Soderbergh. I go, Soderbergh? What do you mean, the Sex, Lies, and Videotape guy? That guy doesn't have the gravitas. Nah.
Genius, Eugene. Genius.
There you go. This is before Traffic. Before Clooney hit it big.
Oh, well.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, well.
Man.
How do you like that in the new
At least you
year?
can blame yourself, Eugene.
Oh, I blame myself, but it's okay, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think that for that,
Like Klaus Barbie said, the famous Nazi last prisoner of Spandau Ballet said, if I had 1,000 lifetimes to lead, I'd lead them the way I have.
well,
did
if
it
we had
my
to
way.
lead it another way, Eugene, for the curveball,
Yes, I heard the curveball sound.
your
And
Apple,
talked over it.
I did talk over it.
You talked after it. Anyway, go ahead.
your Apple, Eugene. Rumor has it that the new iPhone 7 will have a non-standard proprietary headphone jack, making it incompatible with every pair of headphones other than the newfangled Apple headphones.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spin this to avoid the inevitable cash grab consumer watchdog complaints?
Well, first of all, total disclosure, I worked at Apple for about 1.5 years and am an Apple stockholder presently. So I'm going to say, if these...
You recuse yourself from answering?
No, I'm going to answer. But I'm going to say, and I want you to think deep and hard about what I'm about to say, is that if these headphones were worth a tinker's damn, it would be upsetting. But these headphones I'm using suck. So you know what? I got a spring for better headphones or whatever. In fact, I don't have a single set of headphones that work well. Mostly it's because of the street fight I got into in 1980 that's resulted in my left earlobe being tiny and I can't fit the things in the ear, or or whatever different reason. This is a tempest in a fucking teapot. You want to judge Apple for something? Wait a few years, then see what they do or don't do with Apple TV or the Apple Car. But this is a tempest in a teapot.
What about you, Nate?
Well, I think the bigger issue they got right now is their stock price tanking because the word's out that they're shipping fewer iPhones. And right now the iPhone's still carrying the franchise. Like Eugene says, it all comes down to is Apple TV going to be a thing? Is Apple Cars going to be a thing? Like they've got their work cut out for them, Cook and Company, to follow up the Steve Jobs.
Oh, you're just
and the Apple Watch.
Yeah. You just read
like
the
that.
papers. You can't. Don't. It's the most valuable company in the world. Or is it second to Exxon now? I don't.
It
remember.
is now, but you got to think about future, and it's all about growth. And I don't see where they grow.
No, you're wrong about this. I mean, the thing is, if you're a day trader and you're looking for some short turnaround, not the place to be. But if you're a guy who can park it and say, hey, we'll see you in 8 years, that's the place to be. They got a lot of major fucking stumbles before they end up like Microsoft.
Well, sure. It took Microsoft a full decade to piss away their franchise.
And a Steve Ballmer, and Cook is no Steve Ballmer.
No, but he might not be a Steve Jobs either. That's the thing.
Someone that's definitely not none of those guys. When you talk about being there for 8 years and stumbling and bumbling, it brings us to our teachable moment. I'll go with you, Nate. You're Ammond and Ryan Bundy to protest the prosecution of Dwight and Steve Hammond and alleged federal government abuse of ranchers. You seized the Malheur Wildlife Refuge building in Oregon and called on anti-government militia members from all over the country to join your cause. Since your armed takeover, Dwight and Steve Hammond returned to government custody. The leaders of your Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, quote, strongly condemned the armed seizure of the facility, end quote. Ted Cruz is keeping his distance.
He told him to stand down.
And other militia and patriot leaders have disavowed your actions. And your cause has become fodder for internet jokesters who refer to you as Al-Qaeda, VanillaISIS,
and the Snack Pack.
Jihad. You've claimed to have 150 armed supporters present, but eyewitnesses who are there,
15.
Not in the street, but in the woods, say it's more like 15.
Yeah.
Do you surrender quietly or start shooting?
He's painted himself into a corner. From what I can tell, reading the white power blogs and the patriot blogs and stuff.
Stormfront.org, baby.
Which not even that, but like Oath Keepers and different people, like a number of the more sober, such as it is, leadership in that movement are like, these guys are crazy. We told them not to do this. This was badly planned. They don't have support on the ground. There's no logical connection between the Hammonds and the bird sanctuary. This is dumb. Stop doing it. Like
if Posse Comitatus is telling you to straighten up, it's like Keith Richards telling you to sober up.
Yeah, it's a
So what
warning
do they do
sign.
though? You can't. I mean, you just lose.
Well, I think at this point, I mean, it's like, what are your goals here? Like, do they want to be David Koresh? Like, do they want to go down in flames? Because they could start shooting and make that happen. But they need a narrative of the feds shooting at them first. And the thing is, the feds learned 20 years ago, if you don't shoot at these yokels, they eventually get tired of being where they are. Today they're turning the power off, which you would have thought they would have done a few days ago. But it's like they got no food, they got no heat, they got no money, they got the very limited ammo and support. I'm sure there's going to be people leaking away from here. It's like either go out guns blazing or go out quietly, but either way you're done as any kind of leader or role model for this movement that you claim to believe in. They've done themselves a disservice. They've done their movement a disservice. I say they pack up and go, but I like my life. Maybe these guys don't like their lives, in which case, by all means, start shooting and go out in a blaze of glory.
Well, I think the government is actually too smart to do this. This is, the government. It's like, do you weigh more than the U.S. government? Yeah, it seems like the government has dug into one of my favorite approaches, attrition. I tell you what, buddy, I'll see you in March. We'll talk about this again in March and see how you're feeling. After the Kit Kats have run out, after the Milky Way bars.
Did you notice
have wildlife there to kill though?
Their mailing address? They're counting on the U.S. government to deliver their mail.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, no shit, man. Come on, So, but I got my kids that come from a ranch. The mother is a ranch family, and so the take is pretty interesting. And these ranchers, largely, I mean, what people keep saying about what the left is missing, these guys have been feeling put upon for a long time. But price of cattle, I don't know if you know this, price of cattle is down. They're trying to supplement it with bison. Bison, the price of bison is going through the roof because of all the millennials who want to eat healthier meat. But trying to raise bison like cows is almost fucking impossible because why? Because you can't use the same fencing. Bison are huge and they crush any fence ever. So I mean, these guys are under a lot of pressure to be significant, and it's not like Farm Aid time. But it's the margins are fucking tough, man. So I can understand them feeling under a little bit of pressure, but they need to smell some hard black coffee. You're on the wrong page here.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow.
So you got to smell the coffee.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad Eugene and Nate is the fact that
Hillary Clinton,
despite the change in the year and the break. This harmonic convergence of thought continues. So, let's see how it gets destroyed when I ask this question for you, Eugene.
Okay.
Who's in the Lost Battalion? Who's in the Phantom Toll booth? Tyron Woodley?
Marco Rubio.
Oh.
Making a Murderer.
Oh.
Making a Murderer is not in the Lost Battalion. They are red hot.
Oh, whoa, hold on. Why do you say Rubio?
Why do I say Rubio?
Yep.
Because his whole plan is based on being the establishment alternative. I'm the guy that can beat Trump. And Cruz is about to win Iowa. And Cruz, I was watching some dickhead on Bloomberg the other day saying, the difference between Trump and Cruz is Trump's crazy talk. Cruz is reasonable and verifiable, which makes zero sense if you actually pay attention to what they're saying. But the Republican establishment, to some extent, thinks Cruz is slightly better than Trump, which is really Cruz ought to be thanking Trump for making him look palatable. But Rubio is the odd man out. He's not going to win Iowa. Odds are he's got to win New Hampshire or he is done because he's not going to win South Carolina.
And he's not winning New Hampshire.
No, I don't think he's going to win New Hampshire. And at that point, when you're rolling into Super Tuesday and you haven't won shit and nobody likes you and you're supposed to be the establishment candidate, it's like Jeb, the sequel. Sorry, dude. I mean,
I'm still panicked about Jed still being in it. Dude, could you talk me down?
Jeb Watch. You should have a feature, Jeb Watch.
W's about to come out on the trail with me. He's pretty popular, and it's just like, dude.
No, man. You're dismissing him, and he's still in there. He's like Hitler after the beer hall putsch.
No, he's like Hitler after fucking Stalingrad.
I just have this vision of Eugene like in the middle of the night sleeping, like, Chad, what's he doing?
Yeah, no, you guys are laughing. I'm telling you, he's like Michael Myers. He's there. He's like Colonel Kurtz. He's operating beyond any reasonable bounds. What's he doing right now? I don't know. Do you know?
Maybe the guy should put on, instead of a Ronald Reagan mask and stalking that celebrity, maybe you should have had a Jeb Bush mask on, naked, looking around.
I might be wrong in the exact numbers, but I saw something the other day. He's like in the triple digits millions on TV spending in Iowa and New Hampshire, and he's in 5th place.
No, he just cut his spending and said he's going to put more people on the street.
It's too late because he's already spent all that money on TV ads that bought nothing. What Jeb is showing is that old model of get a bunch of money and buy a bunch of TV ads doesn't work anymore. People are not watching enough TV. Trump knows the score. It's all about free media. There's like almost a 1-to-1 correlation between how much free media you get and where you are in the polls. It's like 95% predictor of where you're going to be in the polls, whether people like what you're saying or not. They just follow who's getting the media attention. Trump knows how to manipulate the media, and all Jeb knows is how to embarrass himself.
Why is he still in it?
Because he's got infinite money and they haven't had any votes yet. I mean, because he just can't admit.
Does he drop out after New Hampshire?
He better. He should. He's just embarrassing himself after that. I mean, Matthew Dowd, my old boss and George Bush's old pollster, like put out a column before Christmas calling Jeb, it's time to hang up the Spurs, cowboy. Yeah. And it's like, you know, when Dowd is saying that, you're done, because Dowd wants to work in the Republican Party again. Like, he's not going to be calling out the king and telling him to go home quietly if he thinks the guy's not finished. The guy is done.
And Romney also had some interview in the Washington Post, I mean, where he's talking about the same kind of thing, where he's like, you know, I almost went back in.
He picked up the phone in the Phantom Toll booth.
He did, and he said, Jeb, come join me. We're waiting for you, Jeb.
Hey, man, it's got a nice leather seat here.
I'm aboard.
You can watch the game.
Plenty of snacks.
What game, Mitt? The badminton game. Yeah. All right, so Lost Battalion, you know what? I'm going to make a counter call here. I'm going to say right now, I'm sure to huzzas of many, that despite what you might think, Andrei Arlovski, not Lost Battalion.
Because the crappiness of the heavyweight division?
No, because he's a cyclical fighter. He's like on Knuckle Up. I made the comparison to like Sisyphus. He's got the rock and he gets it to the top and he did it down to the bottom. And this is part of the Arlovski narrative that people love so much. That's scrappy and he gets back up to the top. He's like, he's back again. And he's back down to the bottom. So he actually is doing something that not many really do. Well, okay, some do, and it's not exciting. Like Shamrock is doing it, and you just feel kind of sad, you know. But he's doing it and still like kind of performing. Yes, maybe the heavyweight division is weak. You know, he's not hanging out with Shane Carwin, who was fuck your Phantom Toll booth. I'm here. Just, you know.
Well, Carwin had a day job as an engineer. Like he's got a whole middle class life that Arlovski does not have without fighting. He's
got his cube. He's going to Monday morning meetings. He's hey, save the chocolate donut for me.
Can you imagine dealing with Shane Carwin as an engineer? Like, have you ever worked with engineers? Like, there's a joke about engineers, like, getting in an argument with engineers like getting into a mud wrestling match with a pig. After a while, you realize the engineer's having fun. And, like,
right.
Yeah, like
I had a roommate, and we would argue about the telephone bill. And I man, my math skills are not the strongest. And he'd be like, well, if you take the percentage breakdown, and I was like, you know what? All right, okay. I just give you all the money, and you just figure it out. Leave me alone. So
trust your mechanic, Eugene. Wise words from Jello.
All right. So yeah, that's right.
So Arlovski's not in it.
He's not in it. At best, I'm going to give him a nice, comfy chair in the Phantom Toll booth, because the cycle requires that he sit there for a cycle before he works his way back into that narrative. Doesn't get cut, just sits around and waits for a call. You know. So
is he sitting next to anybody in the Phantom Toll booth? Any new members?
I was really itching to put Dustin Poirier there, but he pulled it out, and I picked him to win, and he did. So
what about Joe Duffy? Is he in the Lost Battalion?
No. Duffy, as long as Duffy can carry the mantle of the guy who beat the guy, you know, they'll give him a couple more shots. He's not done. You know, I mean, he's got big gaping barnyard size holes, blasted in his game that people have been able to see. But he's got a few more. So there were no notable entrants into either the Lost Battalion or Condit still relevant. Not Lost Battalion, not Phantom Toll Booth. There was not a lot of major shifting this past weekend as far as I could see. However, if we want to talk about a major entrant, I'm starting to feel the double R, not Rolls.
Oh, that Shakespearean, the I was once loved.
Yeah, it's strangeness afoot, man. Strangeness afoot, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see what with the. I won't be seeing it because I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in years. But I guess we're gonna see what the pundits say on Sunday morning about her bow. But the bar is really low. Do you expect fucking Sugar Ray Leonard to be funny? Not necessarily. Give a shit. Is Rhonda gonna be funny? Well, all she has to do is come out, make a few knockout jokes, and she's gold. So.
Well, there you go, and that's our show. Give us a thumbs
Hillary
up.
Clinton.
Are you putting her?
I got a text during the show said that we need to address Hillary Clinton's desperate need for PR help. I haven't read the paper today. What's he talking about?
I don't know. There was the Paula Jones reemergence is one thing. The Wall Street fight she's having with Bernie Sanders is a loser for her. She does not need to be debating Bernie Sanders about Wall Street because she's just going to look awful. All he has to do is say, hey, her daughter works at Goldman Sachs. Her advisors work at Goldman Sachs.
What she should have done is go, funny how Bernie is the only politician in America to be quiet about the gun control speech. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, that's where she should be going, but she's fighting on his terrain. But we'll see. HRC makes me very nervous. All right,
whoa, you can't. Why?
Why? Because I watched her blow it against Obama in a race she had every advantage in. Blew it completely by relying on Mark. I didn't bother to count up how these delegates are allocated pin to the to complete defeat, and I just don't trust her. I don't. She's not her husband. I don't trust her to have solid campaign instincts. She makes me nervous.
That's the thing. The psychologists have said when you watch somebody make a mistake, the reason why you get so frustrated with people making mistakes is because your brain carries you through the process and it absorbs a mistake like you yourself are making the mistake, and overridingly I'm voting for Hillary, but I have to say why does she do things that are so completely different than I would do them? Benghazi. What, are you kidding me? That place is a hornet's nest. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. Look at all my emails. I got business to take care of. Next. I didn't really. Well, since I did, it wasn't that big of a deal. Well, I got recipes. My daughter. It's like, you guys, every time it's a 5-foot hole, you dig a 10-foot hole. Why? With Bill sitting there, I think this is late life relationship hostility weirdness. It's like, oh, well, baby, maybe you should. I'll tell you what I should do. I won't fucking intern. That's what I should do. Oh, I keep my advice to myself. I'll be over here reading the newspaper. So.
Well, he didn't help her in 2008 when he got on the trail. It was Gaff City from the Comeback Kid. So
the thing is,
again, late relationship hostility, because when he stepped in to help Obama, that was fucking gold.
Yeah, he was on fire for Obama.
Yep.
But Obama never cut him off for 20 years. So there you go. All right, so that was some ugly speculation. But anyway, that's our show. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com.
Thumbs up, buddy. Thumbs up.
Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes if you just want to listen and not see. Read me at BloodyElbow.com. Read Eugene at Aussie.com. Read Alexi, any of his books at AlexiOld.com or his Amazon book section. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, at Kid Nate, at Alexi Old. We'll be back.
Check out our nominations on the MMA. Oh, wait. There are no nominations for us.
There is in Invisible Ink. Invisible Ink, Eugene. Hello.
Bloody Elbow was on there to be nominated for a week, but then it came down because of technical glitch. So, and then they contacted me to congratulate me on Brent Brookhouse being nominated and asked for all this information. And I'm like, Brent Brookhouse hasn't written for us in well over a year, and so give him a.
I forgot that. I would have said that he left in 2015, but my sense of time is really bad.
No, he left and before the end of 2014. So
I see what's going on. They're trying to cut our oxygen here, man. We're like the Chilean miners.
We're like Ammon Bundy. They're cutting off the power. They're blocking the snacks. But we're going to hold out.
And our troops need to come, right?
Yeah.
We have troops.
Yep.
God.
Well, hold on. I was supposed to ask you something, Kid Nate. Somebody said, look, Eugene, we don't want to see you set yourself aflame. How do we go about affecting the nominations? And who controls who makes the nominations?
Fighters only. Like, talk to them. That's
Who's the editor-in-chief over there?
I don't know. Some dude. It's like not.
Hywell Teague used to be.
I don't know. It's the only thing they got going, basically. I used to read Fighters Only all the time, but it's been a long time since they.
Ian Machine Freeman, wasn't he also had something to do with it?
I don't know. He's British. They're British. That's.
I'm gonna take care of this.
Get on the case, Journalist of the Year.
Yeah, you got it. Personality of the Year. I'll go for that too.
I think that might be even more.
I mean,
fair.
how many porn stars do I have to have sex with? What? You think Joe Rogan's the only guy? Come on.
I think you probably should whip out the whole crying Indian
Penis.
thing, you know? They could just show the landscape of MMA,
Oh, yeah,
and, they have you turn, look at the camera.
I am actually going to do that. That'll be great. I got the slow-mo feature on the new iPhone, so I can do this,
Well, just don't hit me up for any production investment. So, all right, so that's our show. We'll be back next week. Actually, Zane and company will have a look back at UFC 195.
Yeah.
To go over the scoring on that. And then we've got an off weekend, but next weekend we got UFC on Fox, or UFC Fight Night, Dillashaw versus Cruz. The bantamweight title is finally going to be decided. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1 on January 17th, so we'll have all the previews, care, don't care, vivisections. Eugene will be back on Monday with Knuckle Up, and we'll have If I Did It next week, and we don't know what we'll be talking about because the mistakes have yet to be made, but we know. We're confident they will be made. So, adios, MMA aficionados. This is Kid Nate. Thanks, Alexi. Thanks, Eugene. We'll see you next time.
Well, hold on. Do I hit the stop broadcast button, or are you going to do it?
No, I'm going to hit it. Just
All right, do it.